would you be attracted to a guy who's not financially sound when you meet him?
I married one.
Don't you like that alley-oop I just threw you?
Even if they run Michelle. According to a new poll, Michelle Obama isn't as strong a Democratic candidate against former President Donald Trump as many Dems would have you believe. In a hypothetical matchup, my favorite kind. Trump wins with 47% of the vote compared to Michelle Obama's 40%.
Remember thinking late night was all safe jokes and smiles. Greg Gutfeld decided to rewrite the rulebook. When Michelle Obama entered the conversation, things didn't just heat up, they erupted. What unfolded wasn't subtle, polite, or expected. It was sharp, unfiltered, and borderline shocking. Every line cut deeper, leaving viewers questioning what they thought they knew. The real question is, did anyone survive the verbal storm?
Surprised that Michelle Obama is not polling better, because I assumed she would just explode.
No, I mean, well, I would expect her to do better than Biden. I mean, especially she's of a younger age, I think greater mental capacity. And the way the border is going, I don't think you can get much worse. However, it is surprising that even among independents and as well as Democrats overall.
You thought late night hosts tread lightly? When they smiled, nodded, and acted like polite tour guides in the strange museum of politics. Greg Gutfeld just tossed that museum out the window.
Michelle thinks American men suck.
Let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage.
What's that pitter-patter sound I'm hearing in the background? It's the footsteps of Barack running to vote for Trump. So, Kat, they know that they're having a hard time with men.
Right.
Doesn't seem like this is the right strategy.
No.
Imagine a man who treats political correctness like it's an optional extra at a theme park, stepping onto the stage with the kind of grin that says, I don't just have jokes, I have surgical instruments for ego. Now imagine the target, Michelle Obama. Civil discourse didn't stand a chance.
Michelle Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it.
From the moment her name floated into conversation, it was like someone flipped a switch. You could practically hear the air tighten, the tension crackling like static before a lightning strike. Greg didn't just respond. He launched a full-scale assault on assumptions, cliches, and every safe talking point you thought existed.
I was at the top of my class, and I was a class officer, I was a leader. When I sat down with my high school counselor, somebody who didn't know me but was assigned to work with students to help them apply to college, and I told them my intention was to apply to Princeton, that counselor told me, I don't think you're Princeton material. So then to enter into an elite school when your high school counselor has told you're not.
Divorce rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men. Terrible that you would applaud that.
And he did it in that sly, smug style that makes you laugh even while cringing, because you know he's ruthless. He started with the obvious territory, the polished public image, the iconic speeches, the flawless smiles. But he didn't linger there. No, he walked past the monuments of perception like a bulldozer on a joyride. The first jab landed softly, almost innocently, but it set the tone. Nothing about this encounter would be conventional. He teased out contradictions in the way a cat toys with a mouse. Careful, deliberate, and undeniably cruel. And then he accelerated. What followed was a whirlwind of irony, so thick you could practically slice it with a butter knife. He pointed out the quirks, the contradictions, the untouchable aura everyone revered, and then dismantled them with playful cruelty. It wasn't mean-spirited in the simple sense. It was strategic, absurdly theatrical, and loaded with that kind of sly humor that makes you laugh even when you feel guilty for it. Audience members, if you could call them that in this imagined scenario, shifted in their seats. Eyebrows arched, phones raised. Social media feeds imagine themselves exploding in real time, hashtags forming in the ether, like tiny digital smoke signals of disbelief. Greg wasn't just making jokes. He was choreographing chaos, turning public perception on its head without breaking a sweat.
Meanwhile, current reporting has called his entire job in educational history into question. So who hired this guy? The head of the Des Moines School Board is Jackie Norris, Iowa Democratic candidate for senator and former chief of staff to none other than Michelle O. Her job, by the way, was to provide new phone books after Michelle would rip them in half.
He pivoted, of course, because no one survives the Gutfeld treatment if they're predictable. He explored her philanthropic initiatives, the memoirs, the speeches, the endless goodwill tours, everything meticulously curated for public admiration. And yet, somehow he found the cracks. Not big cracks, mind you, just enough to make the house of perfection wobble. And the delivery was perfect, sharp, sarcastic, a little theatrical. You laughed while thinking, oh no, he's right. Transitions weren't subtle, they were devastatingly smooth. A discussion about healthy living became a reflection on celebrity culture. A mention of political influence morphed into a meditation on media obsession. Every shift felt like it should have been disorienting. But in true Gutfeld fashion, it was effortless. One moment you were nodding. The next you were reconsidering the icons you had worshipped, all while laughing out loud. He leaned into absurdity too. Because what's destruction without a touch of exaggeration? A hypothetical scenario, exaggerated to the extreme, became the punchline. Imagine the First Lady trying to host a casual dinner, and Greg paints it as if it's a covert operation orchestrated by a secret intelligence agency. The audience laughs, imagining it, but the brilliance is in the layering. Absurdity stacked on observation, delivered with the calm of a man who knows he's winning.
No, I don't think she can. I think you said this before, Tyler. She can't run because if she were to lose to Trump, it would be the most humiliating, loss in history.
Well, not just, I don't know if I think I said that and you added that, but we'll take
You also said that I look great.
Listen, Republicans, she just kicked our ass. She's up 15 points. I noticed this weekend. I'm just going to speak on it. We can't play with a lead. Every time Republicans, we get a lead, we do something stupid.
And let's not forget timing. Comedy is 90% timing, and Greg's timing is surgical. Each line lands with perfect spacing, like a series of punches in a fight choreographed by a mathematician. He lets a thought linger just long enough for your brain to catch up, then hits you with the twist you didn't see coming. That's how the real damage is done. Subtle, psychological, and hilariously humiliating. At one point, he imagined an audience with the Obamas as if it were a competitive sport, complete with commentary and play-by-play analysis. Michelle, in this imagined scene, is navigating her own iconic poise while Greg narrates every slight misstep with the precision of a sports analyst reviewing tape of a historic upset. The scene is ridiculous, yet it works perfectly in this imagined universe because it's both relatable and shocking. Greg pulls the rug out from under the pedestal, and the beauty is in the delivery. He doesn't preach, he performs. Each joke is a scalpel disguised as a feather duster. You laugh while wincing, and by the end, your assumptions feel exposed. Transitions continue like a river cutting through rock. A casual remark about fashion leads into a mock debate on policy influence. A nod to motivational speaking becomes an imagined scenario where motivational phrases double as tactical maneuvers. The flow is relentless, and you can't help but be swept along. The genius lies in the pacing. It never drags, it never stalls, and yet each moment lands with precision.
And let me just say, too, just so that people understand the kind of father Barack was from the beginning, is that he was an engaged father from the minute they were born. And he wasn't the kind of man that was like, I don't do this, I don't change diapers, I'll hand them to me when they talk, and I can, and I can relate. They make me feel comfortable.
Yeah. It's people often will always talk about the Obama tan suit and how the right went crazy. This is such a hoax. The Obama tan suit controversy started with the New York Times writing about it.
Somewhere along the way, absurdity escalates. Greg envisions a world where every public appearance by Michelle is meticulously overanalyzed. Every gesture becomes symbolic warfare, and the audience is caught in the theater of his imagination. He doesn't insult outright. He teases the idea that the world itself exaggerates, and in doing so, he exposes the exaggeration. The humor is sharp, ironic, and slightly self-aware. Interspersed with the absurdity are observations that sting. He calls out cliches, points out contradictions, and shines a light on what everyone thinks they know, but does so in a way that makes you laugh first, then think. It's a delicate balance, and Greg executes it like a master. Every joke serves a dual purpose: entertainment and subtle reflection. By the time the audience is laughing, their assumptions are already under siege. Michelle, poised, composed, raises a brow as if to say, "Is he serious?" The audience is a mix of admiration, disbelief, and laughter. You can practically feel the tension in the room. Performance, the joke about the joke about the joke. Layered, intricate, and endlessly entertaining.
I mean, he's a little late to the party.
Exactly.
I mean, we should be grateful that he finally showed up. But if he had gotten in early on this, before wokeism took over, we would still have Roseanne. We might still have Cops. Pee Wee Herman would still have a morning show. But no, we had to wait until everybody got canceled. I know, but it's hard to be Obama because if he says, the moment he expresses this stuff, they're going to crap all over him for sounding like us, right? But he used the right word, which was buzzkill. You have to look at wokeism and cancel culture as an attack on
And yet, through all this, there's a method. Greg's humor is not chaos for chaos' sake. It's observation, exaggeration, timing, and relentless curiosity. He explores every angle, every potential punchline, every imagined scenario. The effect is mesmerizing. You can't look away because the rhythm keeps pulling you in. Each transition smoother than the last, each jab sharper than the one before. By the midpoint, the destruction is total but subtle. The audience is laughing, thinking, and rethinking all at once. Michelle's imagined poise, her public image, her legendary status, they're all still intact, but under scrutiny, clever exaggeration. Every scenario is loaded with humor, observation, and that deliciously sarcastic edge that makes you simultaneously admire and fear his wit. Transitions are seamless. A discussion about diet becomes a meditation on media scrutiny. An imagined conversation about health tips morphs into a dissection of cultural expectations. Nothing feels forced. The flow is natural, almost conversational, but with razor-sharp precision that keeps viewers hooked. He also plays with absurd contrast. Imagine Michelle delivering a poised speech, while Greg imagines a backstage scenario where everything is exaggeratedly chaotic. The tension between public composure and imagined chaos creates comedy gold. It's subtle, yet the impact is enormous because it lets viewers feel like insiders in a private joke.
I'm not that worried about it because, man, is he boring. It's very hard to actually absorb anything Obama's saying. You're just going come on, dude. You could drive a truck through those spaces between words. It's just we get it. You're important, historic, but try to speed it up a bit. He is really the most boring person on the planet. And that says something. I have a rule of thumb, though. When they say it's both sides, it's their fault. Because when it's your fault, they just say it's your.
By the three-quarter mark, the destruction is almost Shakespearean. Not the tragic kind, but the brilliantly ironic kind where every move, every line, every imagined reaction adds to the story. You're laughing. The absurdity spirals, each layer more ridiculous than the last, and yet perfectly constructed for comedic tension. You're hooked because each moment builds on the last. Each transition feels inevitable, yet surprising. By the final act, the imagined demolition reaches its peak. Every safe assumption about icons, celebrity, public perception, and media narratives has been playfully teased, dissected, and exaggerated. And the brilliance is that no one feels genuinely attacked. The humor is sharp, ironic, and absurd, but still delivered with impeccable craft. The climax? An imagined scene where Michelle, poised as ever, faces the full weight of Gutfeld's imagination. The audience laughs, wincing, nodding, and reeling. The absurdity, irony, and cleverness collide in a way that leaves viewers simultaneously shocked and entertained. Every expectation of civility has been subverted, every punchline delivered with flawless timing.
Well, for one thing, I never believe anybody who says that an issue keeps them up at night. It's usually spicy foods.
Yeah.
But Michelle Obama says the deportations keep her up at night. So maybe there is some truth to Barack's birth certificate. And way to tip off Trump. Oh, please, I'm really worried about these deportations. I mean, just get a divorce already. Don't try to get him deported.
And the fallout? Imagine social media erupts. Headlines scream, memes explode, and the world watches as the imagined spectacle unfolds. But Greg remains calm, smug, and utterly in control, as if to say, this isn't chaos, it's art. And the audience, still laughing, still processing, can't help but admire the audacity. By the end, the demolition isn't just complete, it's elegant. The humor, sarcasm, absurdity, and razor-sharp observation leave viewers exhausted, entertained, and craving more. Every transition, every imagined scenario, every clever jab contributes to a masterclass in satirical destruction, delivered with effortless precision. And in true Gutfeld style, the curtain closes not with a bow, but with a sly grin. The audience is left laughing, thinking, and reevaluating everything they thought they knew about civility, icons, and the sheer power of relentless, imaginative humor. But just when you think the spectacle is over, Greg isn't done. He leans back, folds his hands, and the audience can almost hear the mental gears turning. Because in his imagined universe, destruction isn't a single act. It's a lingering sensation, like glitter in a hurricane. He circles back to the smallest details, the way a smile is timed, the subtle pauses in a speech, the perfectly polished gestures that have been studied, photographed, and dissected for decades. And suddenly, these things aren't just polished, they're ripe for exaggeration. He paints a picture so vivid it's almost criminal. Imagine Michelle walking into a room, every step choreographed, every nod precise, like she's navigating an invisible obstacle course designed by centuries of media expectations.
Speaking of, former First Lady Michelle Obama slammed aging leaders for holding on too long. To which Joe Biden responded, "Tell that nurse to shut up. I think she's stealing from me."
Greg imagines it as a kind of high-stakes performance art, but instead of applause, it's dissected by his razor-sharp wit. Every carefully curated movement becomes a setup for punchlines that are absurd enough to make you snort, yet grounded enough to feel like, maybe, just maybe, there's truth hiding in the exaggeration. Transitions continue like clockwork, but there's a hint of incredulity that only amplifies the absurdity. By now, the destruction is total, but artfully so. The public persona, the untouchable aura, the immaculate image, it's all been re-examined, teased, and playfully dismantled. And yet, there's admiration buried beneath the jokes, because only someone confident, clever, and bold enough could pull off this kind of relentless, imaginative takedown. The audience leaves laughing, wincing, and thinking, maybe perfection isn't what we imagined, and maybe the fun is in watching it all get flipped on its head. And as the imagined curtain falls, Greg doesn't need applause. The chaos, the laughter, the incredulity, it's all his victory lap. The room is silent for a moment, but the echoes linger. Every joke, every absurd exaggeration, every meticulously timed jab has left its mark. And in true Gutfeld fashion, the final thought lingers. In the theater of imagination, there's only one rule: entertain mercilessly and leave them wanting more.